Welcome back to the channel, everybody. For those who are new, my name is Rudy and we are currently in my garden, and in today's video we're going to be doing a garden tour for the month of December. Now, I do put out these garden tours about once a month just to show the transition of things and just to show how things are growing. But without further delay, let's get into the video. So in this bed we got a few different things going. So right down the side here we got a bunch of cauliflower. You can see here this head is starting to develop, and right down the middle we got a bunch of different pansies growing. It's a real nice flower. I picked these up from the nursery. And on the side we have some more cauliflower. Now a lot of these heads are already starting to develop, and we have the last of the habanero. It's looking really dingy. I'm about to harvest the rest of these and just pull out this plant. You can see here I have this frame. I built this. This was a hoop house. It had plastic over it. I got the idea from James Pizzioni's video. I'll link that down in the description. I live in zone 9B. What this basically cold frame is supposed to do is to extend your growing season. But being in zone 9B, there's really no extension. You can see here we're in the end of December and it's about 70 degrees. So there's not really much to extend. It basically extends itself. So what I noticed is when I put that film over and was growing in it, there was a lot of condensation building up, and there is that potential for disease. So I just ended up taking off the plastic, left the frame, and what I really need it most for is for shade, because there are some days in December where it can be in the 80s, and for something like cauliflower and cold hardy vegetables, the sun will basically send those to bolt. So by keeping this frame, I'll be able to throw a shade cloth over it, clip it down, and that'll keep them nice and cool underneath. And here we have the grapes. Now obviously it's dying back, it's yellow, we're in December, and it's currently growing on this dog trellis. It had a gate that went all the way around, and I'll put up what it used to look like. One of the earlier pictures of the Guevara Garden, how I started off, was in this trellis itself. And all I had was this one bed and a few different, grow bags in here. And then eventually I took off the gate and I just started to expand. And after time, I decided that once the grapes started to grow a little bit larger, it needed something. So I threw on this panel. It used to be a roll of fence that I picked up off of OfferUp for free. And I kind of laid it over. And so now grapes are growing all across. And eventually I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with it, because this isn't necessarily the optimal way to grow grapes, but I did want to have that effect to where, I could come in and pick a grape right off the top of my head. But you can still see here we got some grapes in different areas. And here we got the lime tree. Now it's kind of getting intertwined with the grapes. You can see there, all the grapes are kind of growing through it. Now, in the last garden tour, I said I was going to be taking this out, but I just haven't had time just yet. But I do really want to take it out. I think this is kind of right in the middle, and it's kind of prime real estate where I could be putting another bed and growing something else that's not going to be shading out any of the beds that are behind it. So up here we got broccoli, and in the back we have some lettuce that I haven't been picking, and we have been having salads. So these are just romaine lettuces, and been cutting and coming again, which is a process of just taking what you need and leaving the main head to grow more and more. And that way you'll get like a continuous harvest for the entire season. Now up in the back here, you can see I have some peas that are still growing. Still a little bit small, but I want to stress on the drip irrigation. After putting in drip irrigation, I noticed that my plants are much more healthier. They're growing at a steadier pace. All I can say is if you don't have drip irrigation, definitely install it. And if you need some help and have some confusion about the whole thing, I did a whole video on how I set up my drip irrigation, and I'll be linking that up at the top if you guys want to check that video out. So now on these 4 pots on the side, I did have some zucchini and various things growing in here. I don't even know what this is, to be honest with you. It looks like it would be corn, but this is definitely a volunteer. I planted some tulip bulbs in here that have still yet to sprout. And we have the aloe here that is quickly grown out of this pot. I believe this is a 15-gallon pot, and quite honestly I could put it in a bigger one and it'll still continue to grow. but it's been loving this location. And then right along the side there is the dragon fruit. Now here nestled under the dragon fruit, we got the Jahari pumpkin. I believe that's how it's pronounced, but it's a blue variety of pumpkin. Now this pumpkin is definitely getting oversized, which is the reason why I put this little hammock. It's basically just a muscle shirt that I tied, and it's holding onto the weight, because without it, the weight of the pumpkin would actually snap the vine right off and basically stop it from growing. Now as of right now, it's still not ready to harvest. It's a little bit soft, but if you puncture it with your nail and it's easily sliced and you could see a little mark, it's not ready. You're gonna wanna wait till you put your nail into it and it actually doesn't make a mark at all. But as of right now, you can see the vine goes all the way back and it's all around me, and it actually is in this bed that I'll show you right now. And then this bed here, right down the middle, we have some kale. I always forget to come and harvest this kale, but there's quite enough leaves to pick and add to salads and stuff. We also have some peas coming on this trellis here. I believe these are the little marvel peas, and you can see here that there are some development of flowers for these peas. So these flowers are actually going to turn into pea pods that we can harvest and eat, but as of right now, they're not quite ready just yet. Now I also planted some tulip bulbs, kind of interplanted. I don't remember where, but I know it was on the sides, because I was going to dedicate this middle row here to kale, and then I wanted some tulips to eventually pop up, but nothing so far. Now this bed right here, we got a bunch of broccoli right down the middle. There's also tulip bulbs interplanted. Nothing has sprouted just yet. We do have some tiny head development of these broccolis. So far so good with this bed. Now here are the leftover main stems of the outdoor Canna grow. I'll link that seed to harvest here if you guys want to check that out. If you guys are curious, this is just a little Scrog setup for the Canna. This is made of rebar and just some rope. And in one of the episodes in the grow series, I set this up just to hold onto the Canna because it was bending over. But again, if you guys are curious on how I made this, I'll link the video here as well. We have some spinach right here in this L-shaped bed. This is some eggplant that's been overwintered, but it is getting hit pretty hard with spider mites. So I might just completely take that out. And right here, you can't really see them. They look like little small blades of grass, but we have some carrots that I sowed in a few different rows right down the middle there. Beets that didn't sprout, unfortunately. Something came in the garden and kind of rustled the soil there. It looks kind of patchy, like something was in there. But we do have some rutabaga right down this last row here. It's still growing. And here we got a few different things. So these are Sonnet Mix hybrids. They're a Snapdragon flower. It's just interplanted with some cabbages. It's a cabbage here. Still hasn't developed any head. And on the trellis here are some more peas. Now here we got a bunch of grow bags and pots. So here is the Canna. This is the last Canna of the season, but as you can see, it's really underdeveloped and it's been in this self-watering pot, but I don't think the temperature and the environment was quite well for this. It's just looking a little mangy, very solid purple stems. So I don't really think much is gonna happen with this. I'm just gonna let it grow, see what happens. Not really too worried about that. I basically harvested the rest of the plants, which I'm still editing the videos for. So there's still one more, maybe two with a recap video that's gonna be coming out soon, but stay tuned for that. And here's some sage and there's some catnip. These are some violas. These are really small, nice little flower. They're in these 3-gallon grow bags. I really do like these. They give a nice little pop. I wouldn't mind throwing these in some of the beds there. Now in the last of these pots, we have some flowers here, different varieties. I know this one here is like an icicle variety. You can see what looks to be icicles on these petals. It's really nice. They have yet to flower. We got more peppers here. Gotta harvest the rest of these peppers. Here's some yarrow in this bag, and then some harvested canna, which I plan to reuse these main stems as plant stakes later on in the season. So I'm just gonna let that hang out for a bit. And that about wraps it up for today's video. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to throw up the thumbs up. It'll really help out the channel, and I truly appreciate it. Now, if you want to stay up to date with all my videos, I hope you do consider subscribing. But until next time, I want to let you guys know that you won't get a harvest if you don't sow seeds.